back up. They're going that way. They're going that way, guys. You guys gotta back up.
Terence Crawford and Gervonta Davis were the most unexpected people to run into each other yesterday after what had happened on the social media site X, formerly Twitter. Between the both of them yesterday, well, let's just say it was meant to happen. And they were meant to do way more than the verbal jabs that social media allowed them to do yesterday. The chaos started when Terence Crawford was on his way back from the Ring Magazine Awards in London, and Gervonta Davis, having been away from camp recently, had a meeting outside of America as he planned to resume training camp on his return. Fate brought the both of them across each other, and it was just the right avenue to let chaos thrive. Gervonta Tank Davis was the first one to mention Crawford, and rather than mind his business, he went after the former undisputed world welterweight champion. He met with Crawford and questioned what the online feud was all about. Crawford, who didn't take him seriously, said a few words and just walked away. Then Gervonta Davis kept yelling until Terence Crawford's team members pulled away from the pound-for-pound king. And from the look of things, it's about to get real between Crawford and Gervonta Davis. While we expect a Crawford versus Canelo fight, we should also be open to the idea of Terence Crawford and Gervonta Davis doing more together. It could be a street fight, a boxer fight, or even more. But the fight isn't meant to end just that way. Essentially, the fight was an offshoot of what happened at the Ring Magazine Awards in London on Saturday, as Gervonta Davis was one of the not-absentees. The entire boxing royalty marked their presence at the London Ring Awards. However, a few were noticeably absent, perhaps the most prominent being Gervonta Davis. The Ring Magazine Awards ceremony brought together the best boxers of today in London this weekend, with the exception of Gervonta Davis, who, despite announcing his retirement for 2025, his unbeaten record after 30 fights with 28 knockouts places him in the elite of boxing. Tank was probably not invited because he is not on good terms with Riyadh Season and Usyk. Turkey Usyk, who also owns the Ring Magazine. It seems the lightweight champion wasn't too pleased about it either, feeling as though he had been left out of the invites. Davis made several posts on his X account, which he later deleted, but Terence Crawford took the chance to mock him, which generated a dispute on social networks that has continued until Tuesday. His displeasure quickly followed a number of deleted posts where he slammed both the organizers and the attendees. Davis might not be on the most positive terms with the Riyadh Season team. While the reasons behind his absence from the Ring Awards remain unclear, he did receive a response, one that came from Terence Crawford. The two champions have been at loggerheads for some time, swapping barbs and taunts in the past. Reports say that Crawford, who recently met with the Turkey Usyk, may be inching closer to an epic showdown with Canelo Alvarez later this year. Taking a jibe at Gervonta Davis, Terence Crawford laughed loudly. "I see somebody mad they weren't asked to the Ring Magazine gala. I remember being left out. That's why when they let me in, I crashed the party." But Crawford posted along with some mocking emojis in reaction to the deleted posts from Gervonta Davis, but some were rescued by users. Well, to understand why Crawford reacted with a taunt, we need to look back at the post Gervonta Davis shared. Though the posts appear to have been deleted, a few outlets managed to update them in their reports. "Why didn't they invite everybody?" Davis asked in his post, adding, "But they invited people they deal with. Get out of here. Stop bum eating." Then, apparently pointing at Eddie Hearn, he added, "Look at that little rat thinking he came up on something. Now tell them all to fight each other since they have a heavy squad." He continued. Gervonta also had words for Turkey Usyk, first asking them to take the chance to fight among all the guests and then criticizing Usyk for not knowing anything about boxing. His words seemed to refer to the Riyadh Season head. "They want to act like this guy is good for fighting when he is not good at stuff. If so, why is he not building the people where he is from? This guy knows nothing about fighting at all. And this is who they're turning to. They want to act like this guy is good for fighting when he's not good at anything. If so, why isn't he teaching people from where he's from? This guy doesn't know anything about boxing. And that's who they're turning to. Tank, Davis wrote in another of the messages deleted from his X account. Then he ranted about how, unlike him, many fighters are ready to leave American shores to make their money, but in the end all they get is a barely countable crowd attending their fights. The dispute between Davis and Crawford continued until Tuesday, allegedly because Gervonta bragged to Terence that he had more money. Davis apparently didn't take too kindly to Crawford's response and, in more since-deleted posts, called out but over how much money he makes. I still make more than you. Y'all think he's chasing greatness, he's not. That's what he has to do to make good money. The first thing a rich fool tells another rich fool is that he has more money than you. I bet I have more capital than you, and I don't owe $1 in taxes. You can't buy anything that I can't buy and want, sir. And that's a fact. Let's see who has the longest lasting money. Smart bull. But Crawford wrote to Tank Davis, who replied, "To complain," accompanied by some insults fans may find this interesting. Last year, during the press conference for the Lamont Roach fight, he shocked everyone by stating that he would retire from boxing by the end of 2025. If that's the case, many followers might wonder why he should care about such formalities like not getting an invitation. Nevertheless, it may not be the first time Terence Crawford took a dig at the Baltimore native shortly after he defeated Errol Spence Jr. and became an undisputed king. The Nebraska southpaw heard about Gervonta Davis saying he could beat him at 147 pounds. Speaking on The Breakfast Club, an unperturbed Crawford recognized Davis's prowess in the ring, nonetheless suggesting that there are levels in boxing. He played the joking down, and if he comes up to 147 thinking he's just going to knock Terence Crawford out, he's got another thing coming, he stated. Perhaps a clash between the two American boxing stars may never happen for Terence Crawford, though there's only one fight ahead of him, the one against Canelo Alvarez.
Gave a little prediction on the fight, talked about Errol has a metal shield and you have a glass shield. Let's talk about the punch resistance. What do you think of Tank's assessment, man?
Terence Crawford and Gervonta Davis are currently 3 divisions apart but have fought in the same classes in the past. Crawford kicked off his quest at lightweight. Davis is currently a world champion. He became undefeated at super lightweight, where Tank Davis has also won a belt. Crawford has since continued to move up, clearing out the welterweight class before making his debut at 154 pounds last year. Davis stays back down at 35, holding the World Boxing Association world title and knocking out all comers. The big hitter from Baltimore has said he would not call Crawford out in the past, perhaps tongue-in-cheek, but the bigger man has told him not to punch above his weight.
I mean, you came up from 35, right?
He ain't fighting no real guys at 47.
See, okay. What about, everyone's talking about Errol fighting the...
Whilst the fight is highly unlikely to ever take place, some think it wouldn't be a foregone conclusion. In an interview with Real Life Productions multi-division world champion Roy Jones Jr., he said, "That's a good damn fight," clearly believing it would be competitive if the pair met just underneath the welterweight limit and giving Tank a good chance due to one reason. "I don't see anybody around that's going to beat but unless it's somebody way bigger than him, but don't sleep on the fact that if he and Tank fought at about 145, that's a good damn fight. You follow me?"
But Crawford, on the other hand, I don't see nobody around that's gonna be that beat Bud unless somebody way bigger than him. But don't sleep on the fact that
because they both have very high IQs and Tank is very explosive. That's the one thing that Tank got that Errol Spence didn't have in boxing. An explosive fighter can go a lot of places. I was only able to cover the weights that I covered because I was so explosive. Explosiveness keeps people in check. The two Americans will continue their campaign separately, with Crawford chasing a fight against super middleweight champion Saul Canelo Alvarez that would require a 14 pounds jump and Tank out in March against Lamont Roach Jr. before, according to his latest press conference, retiring at the end of the year. Meanwhile, Tank fans can look forward to his upcoming clash with Lamont Roach Jr., which is scheduled to take place at the Barclays Center on March 1st.
if him and Tank fought at about 145, that's a good daggone fight. You understand me? Matter of fact, I'm saying that's a good damn fight. You understand me? Because they both have very high IQs and Tank is very explosive. That's the one thing Tank got.
While Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez is the fight that looks set to be made, Gervonta Davis has now inserted himself into the discussion. Crawford and Canelo have allegedly agreed to a deal for the mega fight to take place this year, bringing together two of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. The fight is thought to have come together after the pair met separately with Saudi chief Turki Usyk in London over the weekend, after a year of back-and-forth discussion over whether or not it will happen. While most in boxing are excited at the thought of seeing Crawford and Canelo square off, it seems that another of the sport's biggest stars isn't that impressed.
Easy work. I heard him say, I'm easy work. If I was easy work, well, you know, you would take all that money that he's offering you.
With Davis apparently not a fan of the fight between Crawford and Canelo, his coach, Calvin Ford, has also delivered his verdict on how the fight will go. The debate over who would win between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford continues to rage on the fight. It would be one of the biggest in boxing, putting together two pound-for-pound greats, although it would require Crawford to make a huge jump up in weight. Gervonta Davis's trainer, Calvin Ford, has now had his say on the possible matchup when speaking with Fight Hype and appeared to be leaning towards the Mexican.
Terence Crawford, Canelo situation, do you think that's a fight where they could get to a weight that makes sense? Do you think that the weight would affect Terence Crawford?
I mean, Canelo's the king. Whatever he say, you know what I'm saying?
Canelo is the king. It's a good fight, and I'd like to see that fight. And the result of it, Canelo has been making some good moves for his fights. Ford also addressed the performance of Crawford in his last outing, where he moved up to 150 pounds to beat Israel Madrimov but was unable to get the stoppage. It was his first fight. You can't say he didn't carry the power up there. He had to make changes. It's like when Benavidez went up in weight. It's based on them making changes. I hope Terence Crawford can get another fight at that weight so he can show the world it's there. If it's not there, then we can start asking.
But it's a good fight. I like to see that fight, the outcome of it, you know what I'm saying? And then watching Canelo been making some good moves, you know, as far as fights and whatnot, you know?
Ford finished by stating just why he feels Crawford is chasing a showdown against Canelo. Terence is a bad bull. He's going up because he wants to get the fight. He isn't getting any younger. He's doing all the stuff he needs to do to put his reputation here. While Crawford has been targeting the fight with Canelo, he has also recently been involved in a war of words with Teofimo Lopez, and their feud has ramped up with a fresh spat on social media.
Question for you, Tank. At 147, how does a fight with you and Terence Crawford look? 147? 140.
In the last 2 years, Crawford made a strong case to become the top pound-for-pound fighter in boxing when he destroyed Errol Spence Jr. in their super fight at 147 pounds. Davis, who fights at 135 pounds, was asked how he would fare against the 147 pounds. Crawford and Tank thought he could beat the bigger fighter in 6 rounds. 147, you know he's going to sleep. He doesn't have any chance. Hey, I got round 6, Crawford then brushed off Davis' words. Tank is in his weight class for a reason, and I don't see him coming up to 147 to face me anytime soon. Crawford also discussed an improbable bout versus Davis during a recent appearance on The Breakfast Club, a popular morning radio show on New York's Power 105.1 FM.
He's thinking he's just gonna knock Terence Crawford out. Got another thing coming.
So that's a fight you would make happen? If he wanted to come up to 147?
Yeah.
He's just talking. Crawford told co-host Charlemagne the God and DJ, and you know he got the confidence in himself that he believes that he can do that because he's been knocking all these fighters out that he's been in the ring with. You know, so no knock to Tank, but there's definitely levels, you know, and if he comes up to 147 and he's thinking he's just going to knock Terence Crawford out, he's got another thing coming. Davis, 30, has fought as high as junior welterweight, the first division in which Crawford became a fully unified champion. The left-handed Davis dropped former World Boxing Association World Super Lightweight champ Mario Burrows 3 times and tapped out on his way to beating Burrows by 11th round technical knockout in June 2021 at State Farm Arena, Atlanta.
Yeah, 147 for him. That's a big money.
That's a big fight, yeah.
It's a big money fight, you know. Yeah.
Well, Spence.
But then what? Everybody gonna say?
In his most recent appearance, Davis knocked out rival Frank Martin with a devastating knockout punch during the 8th round of a 12-round non-title fight that was fought at a contracted catch weight of 136 pounds. Crawford, 37, had also beaten each of his 8 welterweight opponents by knockout or technical knockout since he relinquished his International Boxing Federation World Boxing Association, World Boxing Council, and World Boxing Organization 140 pounds crowns to fight in the 147 pounds division. 5 years ago, he sent Spence to the canvas for the first time in Spence's 10-year pro career during the second round and caused 2 more knockdowns during the 7th round en route to a 9th round technical knockout win. Crawford argued that he wouldn't receive credit for defeating Davis because their high-profile fight would require Davis to move up to weight classes.
Ken, you know he going to sleep.
I already know. I already know
he
he
ain't
is.
got no chance.
I already know he is.
You said no chance.
I got.
His purse would be big enough, however, to make Crawford take that fight. If it were offered, yeah, I'll stay at 147 for him because that's a big money fight, said Crawford, who is also a former World Boxing Organization lightweight champion. It's a big money fight, you know, yeah. But then what everybody's going to say, he was too small. Nobody's going to give me credit. They're going to say, oh man, you beat up a little guy that fights at 135. Yeah, you know, Tank's like 5'5", you know. He's a little guy, you know, yeah, he can punch, but in his weight class. Not saying that he can't punch in any weight class because he punches, and we see that, you know, what type of recognition I'ma get for, you know, beating up on Tank. A lot of people don't know 135 and 147 is a big jump, you know. That's almost 20 pounds, well 12 pounds, you know, that's a big jump. However, Alexander Usyk, the undisputed heavyweight champion, threw his support behind Terence Crawford in a highly anticipated potential bout against Saul Canelo Alvarez, which could take place at the end of this year or in early 2025. In a conversation with 3KR podcast, Usyk highlighted Crawford's bold move to jump up 3 weight classes to challenge Canelo, but also pointed out Crawford's exceptional intelligence and versatility in the ring.
But there's talk of a potential fight between Canelo and Terence Crawford. How do you see that fight? Who do you like?
Terence.
Wow.
My friend, but it's crazy, man. Listen, I say Terence win. Yes.
What?
Terence win over Canelo.
Yes, Terence win. But listen, Terence, different man.
Terence is my friend, but he's a crazy man. Usyk said, I say Terence wins. Listen, Terence is a different man. Terence works into stances. He's a very, very, very smart man. Usyk has been working hard to finalize the clash between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. The plan is to stage the fight in the United States either late this year or at the beginning of 2025, aiming to give the high-stakes matchups that boxing fans crave. Canelo has indicated he would consider the fight if the financial terms are right, while some boxing pundits believe Crawford will face significant challenges due to the weight class jump. Others argue that his technical skills and ring IQ would enable him to overcome Canelo even on the Mexican's home turf after his win over Errol Spence Jr. Crawford expressed his desire to fight Canelo for the disputed super middleweight title.
Terence work in two sides. Two sides.
Right.
And a switch hitter. He's a switch hitter.
Yes.
And
After he became the undisputed welterweight champion, Terence Crawford claimed he was ready to move up 3 weight classes to super middleweight for a mega fight with Canelo Alvarez. But Crawford has previously seen suggestions about making a fight work with a catch weight of either 158 or 160 pounds, quickly shut down by Alvarez, and that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay linked with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality content like this. Until next time, peace out.